Oh man, what a weekend it was. The Quinnipiac men's ice hockey team found its groove, while the women's basketball team continued its domination in conference play. Lastly, these fine analysts will give their pick for our game of the week. We don't hold back in our final roars. The best part of your week is just starting, so don't go anywhere. Bobcat Breakdown starts in just 30 seconds. Welcome into Bobcat Breakdown. I'm your host, Josh Silverman. I'm so happy to be here. I wouldn't want to be joined by anyone else other than Shane Danahy and Drew Feinberg. Guys, how are you? See the Super Bowl on Sunday?
Oh, gosh. I saw it. Did you see it, Shane?
Yeah.
I didn't want to see it.
I think you had a better seat than I did.
Yeah. I was there. It didn't make anything easier, and the plane ride was one of the saddest things I've ever had to endure.
Well, I'm sorry to put you through that again, but this past weekend, an underdog established themselves and showed the rest of the league not to mess with them. They won when no one else believed in them and said they couldn't do it. But enough about the Philadelphia Eagles. Let's talk about the Quinnipiac men's ice hockey team. In all seriousness, the ice hockey team had perhaps its most impressive weekend of the year, first knocking off number 3 ranked Clarkson and then taking care of business again against St. Lawrence. Drew, you're technically the home team on this one, so you get to go first. How were they able to do it?
Well, I'm going to quote Rand Pecknold here, head coach of the men's ice hockey team. He said it himself, passion. I don't think I've seen this much passion out of this team at all this season, and he said you can't fake it at all. I agree with that. The team finally found its way to battle from adversity. Tanner McMaster's continuing to do what he does, 1 goal and 2 assists this past weekend. Alex Whalen also staying hot, 4 goals in the last 5 games. But Odin Tufto, the freshman forward, is leading the way, doing what he does best, 2 goals, 1 assist this weekend, and leads the team with 31 points. Also, I got to give credit to Rand Pecknold for having the confidence to start freshman goaltender Keith Petruzzelli in the matchup against Clarkson, and Petruzzelli played outstanding, 25 goals, and the only goal he did give up was on the power play. And then Shortridge, next game against St. Lawrence, 22 saves, played very well as he has for most of the season, but passion. That's all I got to say. Passion is the reason that they were able to pull off the upset against Clarkson in this one.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, Drew. Obviously, just a huge weekend for the men's ice hockey team, coming out responding after that 5-3 loss on Tuesday against Princeton. Rand Pecknold has called out his team a couple of times this season, and finally Quinnipiac responded, got back to their identity as the Quinnipiac men's ice hockey team. Just a gritty win against Clarkson, making him, if you turned on that as a neutral observer, you would not have known that Clarkson was the number 3 ranked team in the country.
Not at all.
Just an absolutely outstanding performance. Keith Petruzzelli looks very solid in that, showing why he was a 3rd round pick in the past NHL draft by the Detroit Red Wings. But just truly getting back to their identity, blocking shots, forechecking. It was just a great performance by the Quinnipiac men's ice hockey team to upset Clarkson at home.
Pecknold said it himself, it's all about the buy-in, and I think from this game we're seeing that players are starting to buy into the system, and Pecknold says that's what it's all about going forward.
Yeah, and you have to wonder if that has any correlation to do with Thomas Aldworth now being out of the locker room, just changing the morale. You got to wonder how that affects them too, just Quinnipiac focusing in on what they need to do, and that is how they're going to win ice hockey games.
Absolutely.
Drew, we'll stick with you on this one. Did this weekend convince you that this team even has a chance of making the NCAA tournament at the end of the season?
Well, there's always a chance. There's never not a chance.
Right.
But I don't think it's very high. 6 games remaining, 2 home games. They got Yale, Brown, Union, RPI, St. Lawrence, and Clarkson again on the road. And playing Clarkson in the final game of the season. Clarkson's 8-2-2 at home. I mean, with 16 teams making the tournament, with Quinnipiac, without them being ranked since November 20th, I mean, obviously there's a chance, and this past weekend showed that there's definitely a confidence boost in the team, but is it enough to make the tournament? I'm going to go with no on this one.
I'm going to say yes on this one. If they can play like they have this past weekend, I think they can go. If they clearly have the confidence to go against these teams like Clarkson, and if, like, obviously very tough road games to end the year up at Clarkson, if they can go into the ECAC tournament and go up to Clarkson and Cornell and upset those teams, they can do it. When it comes down to conference tournaments, complete anarchy.
Yeah,
you get hot.
absolutely.
A goalie, Andrew Shortridge, obviously got hot last year in the ECAA tournament, went up to Lake Placid, which shocked everybody. Keith Petruzzelli looked outstanding, obviously, and if those two can play the way they could lead up to, goalies can win you series in the ECAC playoffs.
I do agree. Again, in the remaining 6 games, Quinnipiac is 4-2 against these 6 teams combined total, but I don't think they have what it takes to make the tournament. I just don't see it. From the beginning of the season to now, I haven't seen the confidence in the team or just not the motivation, but the
passion.
The passion and the basically they haven't had a win streak. They haven't really been on a roll that much this season at all.
See, this is where I think the win streak can start. Obviously, they upset Clarkson, beat St. Lawrence at home. This is a very easy. They could get 4 points this weekend at Yale and at Brown. That's a very sweepable 2 games this weekend. That's 4 games headed into down the home stretch. I think they can build confidence going into the ECAC tournament, and they can get this done and somehow shock the country and qualify for the NCAA tournament.
We'll see. We'll see.
We will see.
We will see what happens. Well, the men's ice hockey team wasn't the only team that had a clean sweep this weekend. Quinnipiac's women's ice hockey team left both RPI and Union with victories. Currently sits at 11-7 in conference play. Shane, how much credit does Quinnipiac star players deserve for this win?
Yeah, I think they deserve a lot of credit. Obviously, Melissa Samoskevich has bounced back from her sophomore slump that she experienced last year. And obviously, it's been a bit difficult without TT Sanfarano, who's now in the stands, had hip surgery. But, you know, Melissa Samoskevich has stepped up big time. Abby Ives filling in the shoes of a great Quinnipiac goalie, and Sydney Rossman. She's been outstanding at the back. Allison Small filling in here and there for her. And obviously, Kenzie Lancaster has been outstanding too. Another great. She providing tremendous experience, doing on both ends of the ice, defense and offense. Brooke Bonsteel also has been really good. She has a great set of hands, great goal scorer as a freshman. Quinnipiac big names are definitely stepping up.
Credit should be given to the stars, but obviously not all credit. There's no I in team. Melissa Samoskevich, though, is really the only star, I think, on this team. She has 13 goals, 9 assists in 29 games, obviously better than her slump. Last season, she only had 10 goals. Of course, you can't give credit to the whole team. Also led by junior forward Kenzie Lancaster, who has 21 points, 8 goals, 13 assists. Katie Tabin has 11 assists, and Brooke Bonsteel, like you said, 10 goals as a freshman. Great forward, and I mean, the team averages 31 shots a game and is just held to 23 shots a game.
Yeah.
And if you're going to give credit to the defense as well. And you can't really give credit to just one person or 1 or 2 people.
Yeah, and also just a little quick shout out to the sophomore class. Really, you've seen their progression. Sarah Ev, Kachuk Godbout, obviously stepping up now, getting more playing time.
Well, you guys just talked about her. Brooke Bonsteel's been phenomenal for Quinnipiac, especially in the last couple of games. Drew, where do you see her ceiling set at as a Quinnipiac Bobcat?
Well, I think Bonsteel only has time to grow. I'm going to quote head coach Cass Turner here. She said that Brooke is learning and growing so quickly, and that is what we need at this point, and that she's really providing for this team, and she's keeping up with her hot streak. I'm going to send it back to when she played for the Mississauga Chiefs right before she came to Quinnipiac. She's doing the same thing that she did for that team, except she's scoring goals instead of providing assists. She had 14 total goals and 34 assists in 3 seasons for that team in the PWHL. 10 goals, 2 assists this season. And I can only see things getting much better for Bonsteel going forward.
Yeah, Bonsteel's been very impressive, obviously, winning ECAC Rookie of the Week back in October. But obviously, something that jumped out to me was she's second on the team behind only Melissa Samoskevich, who has 13 goals. Bonsteel has 10. But Brooke Bonsteel has 10 goals on 43 shots. Melissa Samoskevich has 13 goals on 138. Brooke Bonsteel is taking advantage of the chances that she is getting. Obviously, as Drew pointed out, she used to get a lot of assists now, doing a lot of goal scoring, but her potential is incredible, obviously showing her goal scoring ability now, but she's 5'10", just as she grows, gets stronger, stays in the weight room, she's going to be able to do it on both sides, obviously with scoring and assisting her teammates.
And TTC and Ferrano no longer on the team, obviously, but Bonsteel, I mean, it's very early, but she seems like she could be a person to provide more goals and going forward really could fill, I'm not saying she's going to fill TTC and Ferrano's skates, but could provide well for the Bobcats.
Well, one of the cornerstones of this team is goalie Abby Ives. The sophomore has started 25 games this year, surrendering a little over 1.5 goals per game. Shane, will this team go only as far as Ives can take them?
Josh, you know, I think that could possibly be true. Obviously, when it comes down to playoffs, when goalies get hot, they can just steal games for you. And obviously, Abby Ives has been outstanding this season. It's her first season as a starter, replacing Sydney Rossman, but really only gives up about, like you said, 1.5 goals per game, which is just outstanding, only allowing just a bit over 1 goal. With the goal scorers you have on this team with Samaskevich, Bonsteel, Lancaster, Sarajev, Kuchu, Godbout, you can win games in the ECAC tournament, and obviously she will take them very far.
Well, I got to agree. Abby Ives is a very solid goaltender. Is she outstanding? Maybe not. She only has 3 shutouts this season in 28 games. Comparing her to an outstanding goaltender in Shea Tiley, who has 10 shutouts this season. Ives is 9th in the conference with a .917 save percentage, and she is great. Don't get me wrong. She's a great goaltender, but going forward, is it going to help or hurt them? Obviously, a great goaltender is going to help them, but if she gets on, a streak of giving up maybe 3+ goals, that's going to be terrible for the Bobcats going forward.
I think she's solid mentally. I think she's got this. But obviously, like you said, Shea Tiley at Clarkson, just an absolutely outstanding goalie. Abby Ives, just not on that caliber just yet, but she is a sophomore. Of
course.
She played with men in high school, and just she can be very good for this Quinnipiac team. And they're not going to beat the premier teams in the ECAC, but she's like on that second level of goalies.
Well, phenomenal insight, gentlemen. When we come back, your knowledge of the hardwood will be tested. So we dive into just how dominant this women's basketball team is. Don't go anywhere. We're just getting started.
Hello, and tonight on Sandwich News, we will determine what makes a good sandwich and a bad sandwich. First, the standard sandwich. Uninspired, and frankly, a little gross. But we have here a Ray and Mike sandwich, the Cadillac of sandwiches. And if you want one, well,
come on down to Ray and Mike's at 3030 Whitney Ave, Hamden, Connecticut. Open every day from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. QCash is accepted.
now that's a sandwich.
This is Sports Pause.
Are you concerned with the 0-2 start for this team?
Right here, top of the circle, again, rips it past the grassroots goalie.
What will breaking the record mean for the program himself? I mean, 138 wins.
There's the tough shot. What a nice play by Mikey Dixon.
He's good in transition. Just a really dynamic scorer he can create for himself.
And now, Emma, it's time for the top 5 plays of the week.
Coming up on #that, we talk about some fun events around Quinnipiac's campus.
And we talk about some weird news that's been discussed around Twitter.
All that and more, we are your source for Quinnipiac's entertainment news.
Welcome to the WQAQ Morning Show. Dan Ball and Emma Spagnolo joining you here from the QAQ studios in Hamden. And Emma, it is that time of year again.
We're back and happy to be joined by Robin Brown, who is sitting with Quinnipiac's sophomore guard, Taylor Hurd. Take it away, Robin.
So on Sunday, you guys came out and played against Iona, and you had the hot hand hitting 4 or 5 3-pointers in the first half. What was your mentality going into that first game?
I think the mentality was just to keep our momentum going. I think it's easy to get distracted when you're on a win streak and you have that momentum going through the conference, but you just got to keep the same attitude that each game is a new game, and no matter who we're playing, we need to play our game and not play down to the level or make sure we're matching whoever we're playing.
So with that victory over Iona, you guys remain undefeated in conference play and you improve your win streak to 14 games. What is the atmosphere like right now inside of the locker room?
I think we're our biggest fans right now, just because we're excited that all our hard work that we've been putting in, especially in our non-conference schedule and during the preseason, that it's paying off, and we're definitely seeing that with the big leads that we have in games and how we're able to get everyone in rotating and just have everyone contribute to the win.
So last week you guys were named the Team of the Week by the NCAA.com, and your head coach said that you're no longer the best kept secret in the state of Connecticut. What is it about this squad on the court that is allowing you guys to produce so much continuous success?
Yeah, I think it's just our chemistry. We obviously have the gold rush, the 2 rotations, but I think it's awesome that no matter who subs in with who, we can still have that same chemistry and still be able to read each other for cuts and on fast breaks. So I think it's just that versatility that our team has.
But so for you personally, as a freshman, you played 47 minutes and had 7 points. So fast forward to sophomore year, you've now played 383 minutes and 170 points have been scored. So it's safe to say you're being heard across this conference. Have you felt an added pressure on your shoulders going from more of a minimal role to like a major contributor?
I think there was definitely in the beginning, especially when you're competing for time. But now that I've kind of, I think, earned my role, I have confidence from my teammates, especially with the players I'm playing with, because I know I can, rely on them to keep me going during a game. But yeah, I think it's just you rely on that work that you put in off the court and in between games. That's where my confidence comes from in the game.
So looking down the line, I know it's about taking one game at a time, and you guys have 5 conference games left, but what's the game plan going forward, I guess, to get back and make a run at the Sweet 16 again?
I think it's just making sure that we stay healthy. Definitely during this time there's some sickness and bumps and bruises that we're working through, so just making sure everyone's staying on top and taking care of themselves. But just making sure that we don't settle at this point, and that we keep the same focus that we have been keeping throughout the conference play, and just know that we're going to see bigger and better teams, and just to keep making sure we're improving until we get there.
Well, thank you, Taylor. Back to you guys in the studio.
Thank you.
Heard you, beast. No, I'm just kidding. Taylor, but actually, though, Shane, I mean, Heard's been just a phenomenal player for this team. The big reason that they're undefeated in the conference, she really stepped into that role this season. What's been your biggest takeaway with what she's been doing on the court?
Yeah, Josh. I mean, obviously, Vanessa Udoji went down at the beginning of the year. Kind of expected Adele Thornton to be taking that role as the 2 guard, but Taylor Heard, just incredible jump from her freshman to sophomore year. Trisha Fabry's talked about it a lot. Just she's been so impressed with her players, getting in the gym over the summer and getting better. That's what Taylor Heard did. She spent some time up at the gym here in Quinnipiac over the summer. She's just been absolutely incredible, just filling in, and just Quinnipiac hasn't even skipped a beat, just draining the tray ball. It was actually really surprising. Didn't really expect that from her game, as she didn't really play a lot her freshman year. She would just come in. She was mainly the ball handler on that for the freshmen, and just I didn't really know that she was this kind of player. And obviously she tore ACL in high school and missed her junior and senior year, but she's just really blossomed now.
It's truly just a testament to the work ethic and the mentality that Trisha Fabry brings as a head coach to the team. She wants the best out of her players, and she expects the work to be put in, and as we can see, Taylor Heard is putting in the work, and it shows.
Well, gentlemen, sometimes in sports you can leave a game not having a victory. And even though you play with the best team in the conference, you leave and you don't get the result you want. True or false? Do you think it was a moral victory the way Quinnipiac played Iona on Friday night?
Very good game on Friday night.
Of course.
Double overtime for QU and Iona on ESPNU. Great showcase for Quinnipiac with Baker Dunleavy showing off what he got with his squad. Drew, you want me to go first?
Yeah. Should we do it at the same time? Or?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Right,
1, 2, 3.
All right, Drew. I'm going to say this is true. Obviously, just the reason I'm saying this is true, obviously there's no athletes and coaches will say there's no moral victories, but the fact is this was, in fact, a moral victory for Quinnipiac. I mean, preseason coaches poll picked 11th. Iona picked first. Iona went to the NCAA tournament last year. Who would have thought we'd be sitting here in early February saying that Quinnipiac would go to double overtime down in Iona? Absolutely incredible.
You didn't finish that sentence, though, and not win. They did
not
not win.
They did not win, but they took Iona, who's probably going to win who could win the MAC again, to double overtime. Cam Young, best player on the team, just out of nowhere, didn't play at all last year. Just truly, it is a moral victory and just a testament to what Baker Dunleavy's done with this group of players.
Well, I said true because it is a moral victory, but that doesn't show up in the wins-loss column, obviously. And, I mean, no doubt it was a confidence booster. Definitely the team thinks now they can compete with any team in this conference, obviously because Iona made it to the tourney last year. But, I mean, I don't think Baker Dunleavy or any of his players are concerned over moral victories. All they're concerned over is real-life victories, and obviously they didn't get it in this game, but it was obviously a great game against a great team, and Baker Dunleavy said it himself, quote, "It's a challenge for us to come and play Iona and compete, but we really were ready for the challenge and just fell up a little short," and obviously they did, but morally, got to be a victory for the team.
Well, much of Quinnipiac's success this year can be attributed to its underclassmen, but there can only be one of those that is the best. Feinberg, true or false, Jacob Bergoni is the best underclassman on this team.
Oh, you took my eraser, but I don't even have to change my answer.
We're sharing up
True. Jacob Bergoni is the best underclassman on this team. Jacob Bergoni is shooting 50% from the three-point line, on pace to break Jared Grosso's record from the 1999-2000 season of 43% from the free throw line. The kid is a winner. He said it himself. He thinks bringing his winning culture and knowing what it takes to win is really going to help this team. And, I mean, you see it in the NBA today. The three ball wins games. You see it with the Warriors, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Splash Bros. Jacob Bergoni, Adam to splash triplets? Why not?
Well, I'm going to have to say this is false, and I'm going to piggyback off the point you made. Obviously, Jacob Bergoni making all those trays, but, you know, he needs someone who can get him the ball, and that guy is Rich Kelly. Rich Kelly has been absolutely unreal for Quinnipiac, taking care of the basketball, great turnover to assist ratio, and he's been running the show for KU. Quinnipiac, they don't have anyone else who can do it. Isaiah Washington obviously is a combo guard, but really not a point guard, and he gives Rich Kelly like maybe 2-minute break, but Rich Kelly is the one who's been running the point for Quinnipiac, doing all the show and just taking care of the basketball. I think he's the one who is the best underclassman on this roster.
Well, Quinnipiac's next challenge is against Niagara on Thursday. Shane, true or false, Quinnipiac gets a win on Thursday night?
I'm going to keep this answer the same. I'm going to say false. I don't think Quinnipiac does go up to Buffalo against Niagara and Canisius and come out with any wins. But Quinnipiac obviously earlier this season in January played against Niagara and actually was up by 2 at halftime. But coming down the home stretch, they couldn't get any stops, couldn't get any baskets, and just Niagara has 2 of the best scorers with Khalil Duke up there as the second leading scorer, and also Quinnipiac I don't think they can handle stopping those 2 dominant guards up that Niagara has.
I hate to agree with you, Shane, but I don't see Quinnipiac getting the victory against Niagara. Niagara has possibly the player of the year in the MAC in Khalil Dukes, averaging 21.3 a game, 3.3 assists. He scored 23 against QU last time they played in an 81-73 win for Niagara. Also, not only Khalil Dukes, but Niagara has guard Matt Scott, who averages 20 a game, 7.5 rebounds a game, and I mean he was held to only 8 points versus QU last time. His second lowest scoring game of the whole entire season, but I mean I can't really see them going on the road and getting the victory against.
Yeah, Quinnipiac is in kind of a dangerous position. They might be able to. They might end up going 0-4 over these next 2 weekends, up at Canisius and Niagara this weekend. But Andrew Robinson has missed the last 2 games. They're 0-2 without him, so you have to wonder if that's also playing into effect in limiting the size of Quinnipiac's bench.
Absolutely, no doubt.
You got more, Drew?
You're all good. No, hey, all you.
Well, we're almost out of time, but we won't forget about perhaps our best segment of the week, our Final Roars. We have that in our Game of the Week in just a few minutes.
Bobcat Breakdown, presented by the Quinnipiac Bobcat Sports Network.
We are your source for debate.
Did they make the playoffs last year, Tom Jenkins?
When it clicks, it clicks.
We dissect Quinnipiac athletics on a scale you've never seen before.
With Tobia, it almost looks like she's reaching a little bit.
Plus, we bring in the biggest names surrounding college sports.
We are live here at the Times Union Center with Jay Billis.
And of course, some comedy.
But you can only have so much arena food.
I think you're crazy.
Bobcat Breakdown.
Tuesdays at 9:30.
Coming up on #that, we talk about some fun events around Quinnipiac's campus.
And we talk about some weird news that's been discussed around Twitter.
All that and more, we are your source for Quinnipiac's entertainment news.
Tonight on Sandwich News, we will determine what makes a good sandwich and a bad sandwich. First, the standard sandwich. Uninspired, and frankly, a little gross. But we have here a Ray and Mike sandwich, the Cadillac of sandwiches. And if you want one, well,
come on down to Ray and Mike's at 3030 Whitney Ave, Hamden, Connecticut. Open every day from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. QCash is accepted.
Now that's a sandwich.
We're back. There's really only one rivalry that Quinnipiac has, and it's with its crosstown rivals. Quinnipiac men's ice hockey team will travel to Yale on Friday to try to extend its winning streak and, of course, beat its rivals. Drew, we'll start with you. Who gets the W in this one?
I got to go with Quinnipiac in this one. Yale hasn't beaten Quinnipiac since they beat Quinnipiac in the national championship. Quinnipiac won 3-0 at the beginning of the year. I don't know. I just don't see the Bulldogs getting the victory in this one.
Yeah, Drew, I also have to go with QU. I think they sweep this weekend against Yale and Brown on the road.
And now it's time for our final roars. Drew, we'll start with you.
In years past, the men's ice hockey team has been centered around names like Matthew Pekka, Sam Annis, and Tim Clifton. This season could be considered a down year for the Bobcats. However, freshman forward Odin Tufto has shown early signs of his potential and ability to possibly become the centerpiece of this team in the future. The 5'7" forward from Shaska, Minnesota, leads the team in points, posting 7 goals and 24 assists in just 28 games. Tufto tallied 3 points this past weekend and also has the potential to break Brian Hubert's freshman record of 32 assists. With key players like Chase Prisky, Alex Whalen, and Andrew Shortridge returning, Tufto has already shown he has the skill to lead this Bobcats team going forward. The future looks bright for this Bobcats team, and if Odin Tufto continues playing the way he has been, you'll be hearing his name a lot more in years to come.
The Quinnipiac women's basketball team is dominating the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference again this season. Bobcats looks like they will return to the NCAA tournament for the second year in a row. Last year, the Bobcats were a 12 seed, but this year, they will likely be an 11 seed. Although an 11 seed would mean an easier first-round game against the 6 seed, the matchup for the Bobcats will likely be a 3 seed in that region. In the latest bracketology updates, you've seen the likes of Baylor and South Carolina, who knocked out Quinnipiac in the Sweet 16 last year. If Quinnipiac does want to advance to the Sweet 16, who knows? Maybe a loss in the regular season wouldn't hurt them to drop them down to a 12 seed and give them an easier path back to the Sweet 16 and maybe even beyond.
I want to talk about malpractice. No, not the medical kind. Quinnipiac senior guard Cameron Young's bio from last season reads, and I quote, played in 6 games, made his Quinnipiac debut against Marist, played 2 minutes against Hartford, and had an offensive rebound. He had a blocked shot against St. Peter's. Do you know what it should read after this season? All MAC first team selection, averaged over 15 points per game, and played over 900 minutes. Cameron Young has been such a dynamic player for Quinnipiac this year, and it is malpractice that he wasn't given a playing time last year. I have all the respect in the world for Tom Moore, the man, but as a coach, he made some questionable decisions, and this is a prime example. Well, that's it for tonight's episode of Bobcat Breakdown. I hope you guys enjoyed this as much as you enjoyed the Super Bowl on Sunday. Thank you to Drew Feinberg and Shane Dennehy for joining me tonight and taking all of the jabs I threw at them. And of course, thank you to all of our production staff and everyone behind the scenes. You can check out all of our content at Q30TV.com. Follow us on Twitter at Q30Television. I'm Josh Silverman signing off for the night. Thanks for watching.
Josh, can I say one last little quick thing? I don't know why you're throwing shots at us when you're a Giants fan, when your division rival just won a Super Bowl, and you guys are picking.
If you're in first, you're last.
Where are you picking in this upcoming NFL draft again?
Second.
Oh,
two. Wait, not first or you last or what?
All right, you know what, guys? We'll continue this later, maybe even on Twitter. We'll catch you guys next week.